I had a painful realization. So it's already been 24 hours since we've had the launch of the iPhone 15 and the iPhone 15 Pro Max. And when we watch the videos, every single one of us watches it and goes, wow, that's amazing. This is the best iPhone on earth. I mean, I look at this marketing and think, oh, this is an upgrade. But sadly this year, I'm not sure it is. Now that dust has settled just a little bit, we can have a look at the iPhone 15. And the sad reality this year is that the upgrades from the iPhone 14 Pro to the iPhone 15 Pro is really quite small. Let's just look at that end screen where Apple shows you all the new goodness, and it looks like there's loads new with the iPhone 15 Pro. But the more you look at it, the more you realize actually what's new isn't really new. For example, take the dynamic island. On this graphic, it's been boasted about as a brand new feature, but in fact, it's already 12 months old because we got this with the iPhone 14 Pro and the iPhone 14 Pro Max last year. So there you go, that is not a new feature. The 48 megapixel camera that's on here, again, it kind of looks like it's a new feature, but we've had that 48 megapixel camera already for 12 months on the 14 Pro and the 14 Pro Max. So again, this isn't news. And then we also have that always on display, and this is not new. This is an old feature that we've had for over a year on the iPhone 14 Pro and 14 Pro Max. So why are Apple boasting about it in this new features graphic that they show? Because none of this is actually new. Well, the reason for this is that the iPhone 15 Pro does not have much going on. It's quite a small, minimal upgrade. Well, actually, that's not entirely true because there are some new features on the iPhone. So for example, you get that new 5x telephoto lens, but this only comes to one of the Pro phones, so the 15 Pro Max, which makes the idea of getting that regular 15 Pro even worse and even more of a bad decision. We have the new action button, and they do both come to the iPhone 15 and the iPhone 15 Pro Max, but again, this is not really anything new. It is new, but it is essentially a mute switch that we've had on last year's Pro phones and every iPhone before it. So it isn't really the biggest game changer, and it's barely a reason to upgrade from the iPhone 14 Pro to the iPhone 15 Pro this year. Oh, and yes, of course, it has USB-C, but that's not by choice. We know that Apple were forced to implement this, so it's a new feature, yes, but you know, it's still a charging port, and actually, it's not even the latest USB-C port, so a boasting feature that is new to the phones, but also it's not great. So you might be sat there thinking, well, I've got an iPhone 14 Pro and I want to upgrade to the iPhone 15 Pro, but is there actually a reason to do that upgrade? And honestly, I can't see a single reason why anybody that has an iPhone 14 Pro regular would upgrade to the iPhone 15 Pro regular, because there's just nothing there that's new that is going to get you excited. 50% of those new features that Apple showed in that new features screen aren't actually new features. And if you only go for that regular iPhone 15 Pro, then actually even less of those are new features because you don't get that new 5x telephoto camera lens. And this might be one of the worst upgrades that we've seen on a Pro phone in quite a while. The jump from the 13 Pro to the 14 Pro wasn't big, and now that jump from the 14 Pro to the regular 15 Pro seems even smaller. So if you have one of those phones, I'm just not sure. Nothing that you see on a 15 Pro you can't essentially already get on that 14 Pro. And granted, if you're able to trade in your 14 Pro with a carrier and get a 15 Pro for essentially free, then absolutely go for it. There's no reason that you wouldn't. But if you have to go into your pocket, get out $999, give it to Apple, and essentially have them give you the exact same phone back, but with a different name, iPhone 15 Pro, then this is something that you don't need to do. I'm usually all for Apple and any phone that they bring out, whether it be the 14 Pro, 13 Pro, whatever. I'm always like, yeah, really good upgrade. This is something that you should probably go to. But I just can't tell people to upgrade from the 14 Pro to the 15 Pro this year. I mean, if you're going to upgrade anything, then the 15 Pro Max is the one to go for, but even that is a bit of a stretch. Bashing Apple is something that's a little bit new to me. I don't like it, but I mean, even I have to agree and admit when there's something that Apple are doing that just isn't quite what they should be doing. And really, that iPhone 14 Pro upgrade to the 15 Pro this year is pretty weak, and I'm kind of sat here saying, don't do it. So if it's not being clear enough already, skip the iPhone 15 Pro if you already have an iPhone 14 Pro. Unless, obviously, those new titanium colors are something that you cannot live without then. In fact, disregard everything I said in the video and go and get the phone now. Anyway, let me know in the comments, what do you think of the upgrade this year? And is anyone actually switching from the 14 Pro to the 15 Pro regular? I'd be quite interested to hear if that's something you're doing. And of course, if you haven't yet, then I don't want to beg, but if you subscribe to the channel, then that actually does really help. And if you subscribe to the channel, then I shall see you later.